Hi everyone, Azriel Knight here with another episode of Days of Night. Before I get started with today's video, I want to give you a quick update to my pandemic project. My book is now complete. There we go, now that it's in frame there. It is an 8x10 zine style publication. And if you don't know about my pandemic project, I will leave a link in the description to the video where I talk more about it. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. I used the software called Blurb. It was super easy to work out. The quality is just amazing. I ordered one just to be certain that it looked right because all the photos are in black and white. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't giving off some weird magenta tint or something like that. And I'm really happy to say that it is like a true black and white, at least from my experience. These lights here are fairly daylight balanced, and I don't see anything but gray. It's really great. So it is a little on the slim side. There's about a dozen photos over 20 pages, so a few 2-page spreads, many of the photos taking up a page in and of itself. But with a slim book comes a slim price of just $14.99 Canadian, or about $12 USD. So I think that sort of balances things out. I hope you'll pick up a copy. It'll help out the channel for sure, and it'll let me know that I should make more of these. Because of how streamlined the process is, I think I'm going to start doing like a yearly type zine as well, where I do my best photos of the previous year. Some of you might know that I do box sets of just my best black and white darkroom prints, and those are actual darkroom prints in the box set. But for some of you, that might be a little too expensive because it is like, you know, a bunch of black and white darkroom prints in a nice box and all that kind of stuff. This is a lot more streamlined and made to order. Plus, using one of these, I'd be able to do my black and white, color, and digital photos. So if you're interested in something like that, let me know in the comments. I'll be able to do them retroactively, obviously starting with 2021 and working my way back as I have the time to do it. Now, today's video is all about the Canon FTb QL, and those who've watched the last couple of first impressions videos know that I've been seeking out a secondary Nikon camera to complement my f100. I'm still working on that, but I do need to mix things up a bit to break up the monotony. This is a camera that has not only been, sitting in a drawer for a couple of years since I got it at some random thrift store, but it's one of the cameras that I've wanted to review forever because it's just one of those models that you hear about and people just lose their minds over. There are a ton of Google results when you look this up, and I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And I gotta let you know that generally when people are super into something, I tend to kind of veer the other way. I'm not as interested as some, or I don't care for it at all. So stay tuned and find out if I go with the flow of the public opinion or if I stir the pot of poop a little bit. Let's get started. The Canon FTb QL. QL, by the way, stands for Quick Load. I learned that recently. Is your basic Canon FD mount SLR released in 1971, and it is simple. It is as simple as it gets. You have a shutter dial, an aperture dial, a very basic light meter, which might not work for you depending on your resources. More on that in a bit. That is about it. It's got a self-timer. Yeah, it is all manual focus, of course. Some of you would be like, yeah, duh. Others will be like, okay, well, good to know. Thank you. It doesn't get any more simple than this, unless you took away the self-timer. The first thing I'm going to do is go over its operations with you a little bit more close up and personal, give you a better view of the camera. Then I'm going to show you some field test photos that I took earlier this year, and then I will let you know my pros and cons. Here it is, my Canon FTb QL. A couple things that you're going to notice right off the bat. I've got this super swanky camera strap. This is Canon, the official camera of the Universade 83, Edmonton, Canada. Second thing you're probably going to notice is that the front seal is melting away. Now, I used to think that this was an issue. It actually, as far as I know, is just for the mirror bumper, and I did not get any light leaks whatsoever despite having this. So I don't think it's actually for preventing light leaks. Now, I might be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. The main lens I used in my field test is the Tokina 28-85 f3.5 to 4.5. This camera is very simple. You've got a shutter lock right here, your shutter setting right there, your light meter on and off deal right there, manual rewind of the film right here. This right here is where the battery goes, but you require a special battery to go with it. There are substitutes and adapters, but I am not an expert and I won't be talking too much in depth on that. Just know that you're not going to be able to head off to your local drugstore and find a battery that you need here. This compartment requires a battery with 1.3 volts rather than the usual 1.5. Something I found really interesting to note is that the QL, standing for quick load, is this flap right here. So you should be able to just pull right to the red mark and close. It's got a self-timer. And the same lever acts as a depth of field preview just by pushing it inward. That's about it though. No bells, no whistles. Let's take a look and see how my field test went. Okay, folks, I'm out here in Indus, Alberta, just outside the hamlet of Indus at another grain elevator. I'm doing a series on the grain elevators of Alberta, and I almost missed this one. I checked the map, and luckily it was just outside of Indus instead of directly in Indus. Anyway, so it's a little smaller than some grain elevators I've seen. And it's very possible that it's on someone's property. There's a truck over there on the left. I'm going to be as respectful as possible. I do have a zoom lens with me, so I don't need to get right up close and personal. I'm just going to get a feel for the situation, see if anybody comes poking their head out and ask me what the hell I'm doing, and I'll inch my way closer. I've got my camera, I've got a zoom lens, I've got a 20mm wide angle, and my light meter. It is about 90 minutes before sundown, so I'm not in too much of a rush, but I should probably, get boots to the ground here. Based on this sign, Fulton Farms, it's probably privately owned at this point. Dealing with quite a beautiful situation here with the mountains in the background. Really nice light falling onto the grain elevator itself. Nobody's come and told me to get the hell off their property yet, so that's a good sign. I'm going to just continue working my way around it, working my angles. The camera doesn't seem to be giving me any issues so far. I'm on shot number 12, and in some cases I'm bracketing a bit because cameras this age, that is cameras from the 70s, they tend to slow down. Their shutters tend to slow down. So the thing to do here is to go to the next level up. Because they tend to overexpose, you'll just want to, increase that shutter speed to the next level, to make sure you get a good exposure. It's hard to say what's unique about this camera that isn't unique about every other mechanical camera. The advance is fairly smooth for its age. The shutter dial seems to be a little on the weak side. It doesn't quite click like it used to. Sorry, I got distracted by a raven. Yeah, I mean, it is familiar, obviously, to me because I've shot a lot of FT Canons. And it's familiar to me because I've shot a lot of 70s era mechanical cameras. So there is that. It is an extremely simple camera. The one thing I am finding annoying is having to use my light meter. It would be nice if I had a proper 1.3 volt battery for this meter. It would also be nice if I even had an adapter. There's some kind of go-between that can go between the battery and the camera itself to correct for voltage. I suppose I could have figured out the exposure compensation, but honestly, I couldn't be bothered. Okay, well, that didn't take me long to finish off that roll. Just being liberal as usual when I'm not sure about, shutter speed, actual shutter speed. And somebody did drive onto the property, but they just kind of smiled and moved on. So they know what's up. Like, I'm definitely not the first photographer to come here and photograph this grain elevator. Of course, I was respectful. I didn't rattle any doors or anything. I just circled around it, got my angles, and got out of there. So yeah, those were my field test photos. I hope you enjoyed them. Of course, I always hope you enjoy them. My grain elevator project is an ongoing thing. I don't know how long it's going to take. I tend to just pick up a camera and go whenever I get a chance. I've got a map that lists out just about, I think, every grain elevator in Alberta. And the more I do it, the further I have to drive in order to get to a grain elevator, because I've been kind of hitting all the close ones first. At some point, I think I'm going to have to just hit the furthest one and try and nail everyone I can on the way back in some, 2 or 3 day excursion. Let me know if you want to see more grain elevator videos, or if you're starting to get sick of it. I know I did grain elevators for the T90 episode as well, a little while ago. Yeah, I want to make creative content that I like, but I also want to please you as well, the viewer, because you're the reason why this channel exists. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, the other thing that you might notice is I'm not quite as long-haired as I was in the video. That was taken back in January. And during the pandemic, I already had hair and I decided to grow my hair out long. And I grew it out and I hated it. It was such a pain in the ass having to shampoo and waiting hours for the hair to dry. But I wanted to do something good. And what I did is I waited until the hair was long enough to donate it. Sorry, I had to check the name of the company just to be sure. Eva and Co. Wigs. It says, "Dear Azriel, thank you for your hair donation. Your hair will be used to make a wig and given to a child in need in the Wigs for Kids program. Thank you for helping us put a smile on a child's face. Your participation and support is truly appreciated. So I wanted to do something good, and I figured, if I just shaved it off like before I could do something with it, it would have been a waste, I think. I thought about dyeing it a crazy color or doing a mohawk thing, but I wouldn't have been able to make the donation if I dyed it or cut some of it off. So, and when I was done with the hair, I was just done with all of it. A little peek into my personal life there. It's probably boring the hell out of you, but yeah. Anyway, on to my pros and cons list. Pretty short list. My first pro is that it's easy loading. That easy loading little flap thing that makes it, less of a hassle. Kind of a neat concept. I've never seen an easy loading camera that didn't involve some kind of motor. So I thought that was a pretty inventive idea. And of course, the pro that I will always list with a Canon FD camera is the ability to use FD lenses. While they aren't the best in the industry, they are plentiful. You can find them fairly easy. They're fairly inexpensive. Lots of third-party companies, like Tokina, for example, made lenses back in the day. So if you're just starting out, or if you happen to come across another Canon camera with the lens, but you don't like the camera, you might want to give the FTb a try. The con, of course, is that you require a special kind of battery. And because 1.3 volt batteries are hard to come by, you might just be better off with another Canon FD camera. Now, if you come across one, or if it's got some personal meaning for you, like your father or your grandfather shot with a Canon FTb, then it's probably worth the effort. Like, I can see why people lose their mind over it. It's a very simple, elegant design. It is sort of an iconic camera. It's a milestone camera. And I think that, again, if it's got personal meaning for you, then sure, make the effort. Or if you don't mind using a handheld light meter, then go for that. Me personally, I shoot with an f100. I want auto everything. So obviously this camera isn't the camera for me. It's not even the Canon camera for me. My personal choice for a Canon FD mount camera is the A1. And, part of the reason for that is it's a hand-me-down from my father-in-law. And while I don't shoot with it very often, I've got it on display. I'm probably going to have it serviced in the next couple of years just to keep it running nice in case I do want to pick it up at some point. I can see why this camera would be the choice for a person who doesn't mind manual focus and just bare bones photography. If this sounded appealing to you, go ahead, grab one. You're probably not going to be disappointed. Just be ready for that fussy light meter of either having to work with exposure compensation in some way, getting a 1.3 volt battery, or some kind of adapter. I hear there's an adapter out there somewhere that you can kind of put in between the battery or a different battery to bring the voltage down. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's just something I've heard. Can't confirm it. But yeah, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I could really use your help on Patreon. On Patreon, I offer things like early access, your name in the credits, free prints, and more. You can go to patreon.com/Azriel to subscribe. If you want to follow me on social media, that's at Azriel Knight on Instagram and Twitter. I've been trying to post more on Instagram lately, especially pulling stuff from my archives from like as far as 10, 12 years ago. So if you're interested in seeing that, again, at Azriel Knight. I also have a monthly newsletter where I do a giveaway every single month, and I give you a summary of all the things I've done on and off of YouTube. Link for that in the description. And until next time, stay classic.